Ready.
All right. Hi.
Hello.
How are you? Yeah. It's good to see you. Well, thank you so much for inviting me into your classroom and letting me see you do a Read Aloud with kids. There was so much joy in my classroom.
Thank you.
Yeah, the kids were so cute.
Funny.
And you had such an infectious energy when you were doing that Read Aloud with kids that it was really fun to see.
I try to show excitement.
Yeah.
Get them all alert
Yeah. Yeah.
and paying attention and focus on what I'm doing.
Well, you could just see the joy in their faces, and a book that they obviously really
They
love
love
reading.
this book. This is the second time I read this book. The
Yeah.
first time I read it, one child said that his parent read it to him, but the other students
Yeah.
had never heard this book.
Yeah.
And then when I started reading the book, and they started hearing those rhyming words,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they were familiar with it because of the PJs, the
Yeah.
pajamas.
Yeah.
And we wore pajamas in December.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what's nice about this is there's so many. She has multiple topics that she's done. Like with my own kids, there's like Llama something holidays
Yes.
or what? It's like a Christmas one.
Yes, I remember. It's another book. Llama, Mama, this is something.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. There's so
Yeah,
cute.
it's another book.
It's nice to have a series, and I think kids get really excited when they
Yes.
see the same character but in different situations.
Yes, that's
So,
true.
so I just took some notes while you were talking. So I just kind of wrote some different stuff that you did,
Oh, okay.
and I wanted to talk about a couple things, and then I wanted us to talk about like possibilities for future Read Alouds.
Okay.
So, so this was your second reading of the book,
Yes.
and so you went over. You kind of talked about. You had a great chart where you had. Where you listed things that kids already knew about the book with the kids' names next to it. And what I liked about that was it was such a great reminder for kids about what you all talked about previously.
We did that previously. It was January the 8th when we first read that book. And so sometimes I'm like, what you already know about this
Yeah.
book? You know, so some kids know about the book if they have seen it or
Yeah.
someone read it to them before. But majority of my class, they didn't. Only
Yeah.
one. Only
Well,
one
what's
student.
important about that is comprehension of text, which is what we're doing here with the Read Aloud, happens before you read it, during reading it, and after reading it. So asking some of those important questions just about accessing their background knowledge,
Right.
like what do you already know about this,
Yes.
is I think really important.
Okay.
Even like what's a llama?
Yes,
You know?
yes.
And that's when you really went through vocabulary words that they would not necessarily know because they're pretty unique to the book, like llama, red. You talked about hair. You talked about fret, which was an interesting one. Wasn't
Yes,
it?
that was, like I told them, that was sort of hard.
Yeah.
And they didn't really know, and they tried to act it out, you know.
Well, what I thought was effective about that was how you did act out some of the words, because
Okay.
I think a lot of times as teachers, I think sometimes we just tell kids what the words
That's
are.
right.
But when you acted it out, I think that's what made them really understand what the
Yeah,
word was
getting them
about.
involved, getting
Yeah.
them excited, encourage
Yeah.
them about the book. Yes, that is true.
And then I just wrote down like a list of questions that you asked. So like, have you ever worn pajamas? Have you ever been alone and didn't like it?
Right.
Did you, I think, did he call out to, I can't even read my own handwriting. Did he call out to his mom a lot?
Yes,
I
that's
miss
it.
my mom. Do you miss your
Yes.
mom? What did you know about the book? Has anyone ever read this book before? What kind of pajamas did he wear? Red. Listen for the rhyming words. Which way? Okay,
I start
so
reading?
this was interesting to me. You're like, okay, what way? Here's the book. Which way do I begin reading the book? These are super important book handling skills
Yes.
that we have to teach them at
Exactly.
this age. And so you talked about how we turn the page,
Yes,
left to
one at a
right.
time.
And the other really effective thing I think you were doing was you were putting your finger under the
I
words.
try to, like, when I read, I try to go that way, like you say, left to right, and point word at a time.
All of that is majorly important early childhood book handling and reading skills that I was like so impressed that you did when you were teaching. Because I think that's just it's super important because we're teaching them how to handle books, how books go, the left to right correspondence.
Yes.
So that was awesome.
Thank you, because I know when we do have our training with the coaches, and even our PD workshops, and they emphasize that when we
Yeah.
are reading, try to read with encouragement, point
Yeah.
left to right,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
let the students
And
know
let them
which way
see it.
you're reading.
Let them
Show
see it.
their assignment.
Yeah.
Once you get them interest, and you get their focus, then
Yeah.
they are going to participate.
Yeah, they will. Yeah.
They're going to participate.
Yeah. One of the challenges I always had as a teacher with smaller books
Yes.
was making sure everybody sees the
That
book.
is true. That's what.
And, like, there's a couple things I've done in the past. Because I think there might have been a student or two that was, like, in the corner.
Mhm.
I don't know. I couldn't tell from my angle. But my guess is because it's a smaller book, it might have been hard for them to see you doing that.
Mhm.
So one of the things I've done is I've taken photos of the books and I project it on the screen.
Okay.
And then, because that way you can sit and point to it. Now that does take some time.
Well, that's good because I like using the Smartboard. So that's a brilliant idea.
All I do is
I would
yeah.
think out the box, just like you said. Yeah, take a picture of the book and put it up there. But before I had started even reading the story, even before I started, I would turn the big easel.
Yeah.
And I said, can everybody see? So all of them were able to see.
Yeah.
So I made sure I leave that easel in that same spot so they can be able to see.
Smart.
So I will take that idea what you just said.
That is just a recent thing I've started doing in my college classes because I have like 30 students in my class and I have this small book and I know they can't see and I really want them to be able to look at the words and stuff.
Right.
So all I've
That's
done
good.
is I just take pictures on my cell phone. This is probably illegal, but I take pictures on my cell phone
Right.
and I just upload it to like a PowerPoint or Google
That's something I could do in the
Docs,
future.
and then it's just so much easier for everybody to see it.
But I
Just
like
a
how
little
you
tip.
just said with taking the pictures and putting it on the Smartboard.
Yeah.
What I have done, they have these books already. We have the e-book. But sometimes it's hard for us to bring up the e-books with the kids where they can go into the center and read the book and utilize the book and on their own.
Yeah.
But I have brought up the book on the Smartboard to let them see someone else read.
Yeah, that's.
But I will.
I mean, it's a little bit of work. You do have to you have to take the pictures, then you have to upload them into a thing. And I really only do it with books that I know I'm going to use over and over again.
Okay.
And then I will use from year to year to year.
Okay.
So
That's
just
a
a tip.
Just a tip. Thank you. I would utilize that tip.
So one thing I wanted to talk about was just types of questions to ask.
Okay.
And I've been really talking to my students a lot about this lately as well and I've been really thinking about the types of questions I ask when it comes to Read Aloud. And some of the there's some different types of questions to ask.
That's
and you were asking questions from these different categories, but there are the right there go questions, which are just the literal questions. The who, what, when, where.
Okay.
That has a single answer that you can find the answer like right on the page. So an example of that would be Llama, red pajama, waiting for his mama. Who was he waiting for? His mama.
Okay.
Okay. The second type of question. So this goes a little bit deeper into difficulty for kids.
Okay.
Those are easy for kids.
Yes.
Typically is easy.
Yes.
For some kids that will be challenging to
Okay.
answer this question. The think and search questions are the questions that kind of require the student to slow down.
Okay.
And they have to search for the answer on different pages.
Okay.
So these are the summarizing questions, compare, contrast, how did, find two examples.
Okay.
So let's brainstorm. Like, what would be a question that we could ask that would make kids have to answer it from multiple pages? I mean, I was thinking something like, what are some things that Llama did to get his mom's attention?
Okay.
One thing he did was he called down to his mom.
Scream.
He hummed a tune. He starts whimpering. And so, see how that's that's even harder for me to do because it's not right there. So that makes it, these are questions that are going to push kids to think a little bit deeper about the story and find examples.
Yes. Okay.
The third type, author and you, these are the stop questions. These are These are like inferring.
Right.
These are much tougher,
Yes.
for especially our little ones to do. But we can start doing this with them.
We sure can.
It's like, what do you think will happen next?
Yes.
You know, so just stopping on the page, because comprehension happens before, during, and after.
Okay.
We want to periodically stop during reading and ask certain questions so they can cement their learning. So, so this is always an easy one. Okay, what do you think is going to happen next?
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting here whimpering softly for his mom. How do you think his mom's going to react to that? This is a tougher one, and this is one that a lot of 4-year-olds aren't going to get. But what is the story really about? What does Llama really want? I mean, we might have kids say he really wants his mom. He really wants, his mom to pay attention to him or to comfort him, or so that's just that's an inferring question. You can't really find that necessarily in the book. They have to really think about it. And then these, you did a brilliant job. You asked tons of connection questions. Have you ever? How would you feel if, like, do you ask your mom? He felt alone. Let's see. Do you have any animals that are real or not real? Does your mama ever read you a story? So you asked tons of connection questions. So that's great. Keep doing that. So one strategy to think about as a teacher is what I used to do when I was coaching and teaching. Is I would use this as a guide. I would construct some questions, and I would do them on a sticky note. And I would just stick it on the back of the book. I mean, but I wanted to make sure I'm asking questions from each of the categories so that I'm pushing the kids thinking a little bit.
Those 4 categories, okay.
So what do you think?
I think that's awesome. I would utilize that, like I said, I use maybe 2 of them. The author and maybe the goal, but then
these two you've nailed. These two you've nailed. These two are the they are the trickier ones, and they're the ones that often we don't tend to ask because it just requires. I mean, it's tougher for our kids to answer these
and
two.
Then the time.
And the time.
The time. Because I'd be like, sometimes when I'm reading, I'm like, how long do I have? And I know as teachers, sometimes we get into it and we go over time.
Yeah, I know.
So we try to stay right there in that time.
How much time do you allocate for reading aloud?
25.
Yeah, which is, you don't want to go over that time because then they get completely
but
disengaged.
Next time, since you, like you said, I did 1 and 4, then maybe I utilize 2 and 3, just a little bit.
And I would just, you can even start off simple and just write one question in each category that you prepare ahead of time. I mean, there are going to be questions that you will ask just spontaneously. But I think if you just write a question from each category and put it on the back of your next read aloud, let's see what happens.
Yeah, intentionally do these strategies,
I knew I was going to come and watch you do a read aloud, so I always like to bring people some different resources. And this is just an article about repeated, because this is your second time reading it. Yep. Just different repeated interactive read aloud. And it just gives
about kindergarten.
Yep. And it just gives you some tips and some ideas.
Thank you.
So I thought maybe I could leave that with you, and please share it with your team. Yeah. I always think it's kind of nice to sit with the team and read something together and then just discuss it together. And that could be
May I have a copy of this?
I'm going to make a copy of everything for you, and I'll leave it with you on my way out.
Right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me into your classroom.
Oh, you're welcome. The kids love this.